Super Bowl 47 coverage here from the New Orleans Convention Center. Darren McFarland here, Radio Row. All this coverage brought to you by Low T Center in Brentwood, inside Maryland Farms, and Freeland Chevy Business Elite Sales. Bonnie Bernstein here at our table. Bonnie, good morning.
Good morning to you, Darren. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm great, and greetings to Nashville, one of my favorite towns. Love it there. Grand Ole Opry, go every single time.
Do you really?
Vince Gill, who I love, happened to show up both of the times I've been to the Opry. I wanted to pass out, and it was awesome. Yeah.
Vince Gill is the man. He is everywhere in town.
The man.
Huge sports fan. He's at every sporting event in town. All the hockey games, all the football games, all the basketball games.
That's nice to see.
Yes.
And he's like, I've only met him once, but he seems like a very down-to-earth kind of guy. And I find a lot of the country artists are. It's just come from the South. A lot of them come from the South, and they're just good, genuine people. I love Faith Hill. She just seems like a lovely woman.
I think that's what they love about Nashville. You can walk around and really, nobody's.
I love the music, too.
Like, everybody knows who you are, but nobody's really bothering you.
No.
And I think they love that.
Yeah, great town.
Yeah, so is country music your preference?
Interestingly enough, growing up in New Jersey, we didn't really listen to any country.
No?
But how about this? So my first job out of college was at a startup country radio station on the eastern shore of Delaware. It was Kix 106, and we had a big old white van with a cowboy boot on it. I remember I actually went down to cover Clinton's inauguration, driving down in this big white van with a big cowboy boot on it. It was awesome. And the program director, I don't remember if he was from Nashville, but I remember he was a Tennessean. And so I had my office and he had his office. And being from New Jersey, we do a lot of the hip hop, heavy bass thing. And I was just, at the time I was just looking at it as a job, and it hadn't quite gotten to the point that I had embraced the music yet. So he came into my office and I hear this, and he's like, "Dang, girl, what is that?" I'm like, "That's real music. What y'all got going on in the studio next to me, I have no idea." But ultimately, I came to love country music. And to this day, Darren, one of my favorite concerts ever was Reba McEntire at Caesars up in Lake Tahoe. I worked in Reno, Nevada, was the last local market I worked in before I went to Network. And she what a pure, phenomenal voice. And I saw her in Annie Get Your Gun on Broadway too, and I love everything about her. So yes, and country, the lyrics, they actually tell stories in a day and age.
Sometimes they're sad, but they do tell a story.
Well, most of them are sad, but that's okay. We all go through periods. But half the time you listen to lyrics and you're like, okay, first of all, that wasn't English, and second of all, whatever it was, what were you trying to say? And there's a purity about country lyrics that I really appreciate.
When did you always know that this is what you wanted to do?
For as long as I can remember.
Really?
Yeah. I remember my very first creative writing story was in third grade. I remember, we were growing up, we had the big manila sheet of paper with the two solid lines and the dotted lines, so you knew where the uppercase and the lowercase went, and then there was a space up top for drawings. And I wrote a story about a gymnast who got kidnapped by aliens, and I made a little spaceship and all that stuff. And I loved putting my mind to work, and I realized at such an early age that I loved sports. So I just figured, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to do both. And I'm a little too ADD to have a 9-to-5 sit-down desk job. I would go nuts. And then I think the vision was really cemented when I was 12 or 13. And we were Mets fans growing up in New Jersey, and my parents had taken us to a game. And back in the day, it was a little bit safer for a kid to run off and explore, which I typically would. And I found, it's called the Diamond Club, a little restaurant, and it led into the press box. And I saw the security guard standing there, and I walked up to him. I said, "What are you guarding?" And he said, "The press box." I said, "What's the press box?" And, you're 12 or 13. You don't know anything about this stuff. So he brought me into the press box, and I sat down at the Sports Illustrated, whoever was covering the game for SI that day. I sat down and watched the Mets take BP, and I was so awestruck. I think that was the day I decided I'm definitely going to be a sports journalist when I grow up.
Yeah, I knew it was my destiny whenever the teachers would tell me, your project cannot consist of sports. Whenever they kept telling me, you have to do something other than sports, I knew that I probably was going to head down that path.
I actually went through that in college, too, when I first started taking journalism classes, and we had to pick a beat that we wanted to cover. I wanted to cover sports. and they wouldn't let me. So I concocted this sports administration beat, which basically entailed me knocking on the athletic director's door every week to talk about something for an entire semester.
Words that have never been described my direction. Magna cum laude. Those are just words you never hear
I done good.
from me. Yes, you did.
I was really bummed. I was very, very close to summa cum laude. I was just a decimal point off. It really sort of
See,
bummed
that's
me
the
out.
difference between me and you.
I'm a
See,
dork.
you're ticked about that.
I'm
just would.
still, to this day, it bugs me.
I would be in any laude category. I would be happy with that.
Cafe latte.
Cafe.
Skinny decaf mocha latte.
You covered all the sports. Which one is your favorite, or do you dare go down that path
NFL,
of picking
hands down.
favorites?
Not
Really?
even close. Which is funny because I was such a huge baseball fan growing up. Hands down, my favorite team was the Mets. I watched, I'd say, at least 150 of the Mets games the year they won the World Series in 86.
86.
But, inevitably, people will ask what the favorite sport is, and my PC answer is whatever it is I'm covering that particular time. And it's really not PC, it's true. Once I'm assigned to something and I delve in and really start doing the research and the interviews and stuff like that, I'm totally into it, and it's my favorite sport. But ultimately, I think having done sideline for 8 years at CBS and going into those production meetings every week where you're just sitting there in a room with no cameras and it's you, play-by-play guy, color guy, your producer, your director, and one by one, they're parading in the head coach, the coordinators, all of the stars of the game, and you're sitting in a room with them, gathering information for the broadcast. And every day, Darren, I would walk out of those meetings knowing a little bit more about football than I did when I walked into that room. And having access to the film and sitting and watching film with Phil Simms and having him point stuff out and rewind stuff and play it again for me, it really has become my lifeblood, and I don't know what I would do without it.
We've been trying to figure out, we've got Vanderbilt, Belmont, Tennessee down the road. There's a lot of success of college basketball in the state of Tennessee. Memphis.
Sure.
We're trying to figure out what's going on with basketball. I'll give you my
I thought you were going
take.
to say we're trying to figure out what's going on with the Titans.
No, we don't have that much time, Bonnie. You're on a strict schedule. This could take a long time.
I'm not sure we're going to figure out the Tennessee basketball thing in this.
I feel like we're all sitting around waiting for March Madness these days. Why does it seem like there's been this significant dip in college basketball?
Because there's an oversaturation of coverage. There's basketball on every single night. And there are so many games. It's not, the fact of the matter is, while I hate the BCS, I get it. I mean, I'm happy there's a playoff coming down the road because every single college football game is so critical. If you lose once, your BCS title hopes are practically shot. In college basketball, first of all, they play that whole powder puff schedule up front, and it takes a while to get into the nitty-gritty of the conference schedule. But the other thing is, too, and for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else, I really don't start paying attention to college basketball until next Monday.
So you're like most all of us.
Football. Okay, when the NFL's over, then it's college basketball time. And, I mean, I love March Madness. It's such a wonderful event to cover, but it is the first weekend. There are so many games, and your head is about to explode because I'm talking to 8 different sports information directors, 8 different coaches, 8 different, group of kids trying to gather all of these little tidbits and stuff. And it really is sort of overwhelming. But for as overwhelming as it is for journalists who cover it, it is equally as exciting for the fans. Guys will do guys trips to Vegas. They'll all get together at a place where there are going to be myriad TVs, and they just revel in the madness that is March Madness. And it's just, there's really nothing like it.
All right, we have to wrap this up. What are you doing? I think you're trying to help guys out, so tell us what you're doing.
I'm trying to help guys out, and girls. Valentine's Day,
true.
It's not just the guys buying the presents for the girls. But Epiphany Chocolates is a wonderful website. They're gourmet chocolates, and they have what they call the man page. So you don't do a lot of heavy lifting. You go to epiphanychocolates.com. You don't have to search the whole site. You just go to the man page, and they've got a couple different selections that are full of amazing flavors. All of the chocolates have a special filling or a special topping. And if you go to epiphanychocolates.com and you put in the promo code Bonnie30, you'll get 30% off your order. through Valentine's Day. And then if you follow me on Twitter, and I'm at Bonnie Bernstein, I'll be doing trivia questions all next week at 2:14, February 14th for Valentine's Day. So at 2:14 every day next week, we'll do trivia. The winner of the trivia question gets a free box of chocolates shipped anywhere in the U.S. to your sweetheart for Valentine's Day.
I don't care what anybody says. All guys need help on February the 14th. So thank you.
They all do. My pleasure, Darren.
And enjoy the game, and thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Bonnie Bernstein here at our 102.5 The Game table. We'll take a break.